Thank you for joining me today. My name is Alan, and this is the Evolving Man podcast. Today, I want to spend the next few moments discussing with you the concept of a life purpose. But let's start with a couple of questions. Do you know what your life purpose is? Do you live your life by your life purpose? You see, these are important questions we need to ask ourselves. Questions that I really didn't understand, and even at today, it's still a work in progress for me. So let's go down the rabbit hole for a few minutes and start to unpack the concept of a life purpose. I'm a huge fan of Jordan Peterson because of his depth of knowledge in human psychology. And he was a huge fan of Jung, Nietzsche, and Freud, as well as many others. And he always spoke about life purpose as having an aim in life. That's a good word for life purpose, isn't it? Having an aim? I think it is. But Jordan would go on and to ask three more really good questions that help us dig into this concept a little bit more. Where are you going? What are you doing? And why? This is so important for us to get a hold of because for the most part, at least I believe, we walk around like zombies with no real direction or purpose for doing anything. Now, I'm not talking about the shallow purposes like basic necessities for life. You know, the first two rungs on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Psychological and safety needs. No, I'm talking about a purpose that is deep within your core. A drive so powerful that it pulls you towards a mission and a vision that may be hard for you to describe at times, but you know it exists because you can feel it in your gut. You see, the answers to where, what, and why are extremely critical if we are to have an aim that is worthwhile pursuing. Because without an aim or a life purpose, our ability to handle life's challenges can, for some of us, be very difficult. Psychology tells us there's a direct correlation, between happiness and having a life purpose. It's a key component for battling depression. So think about it this way. Without a life purpose, you're like a ship without a rudder, left to the whims of the tide. That's surely no way to live, if you ask me. So how did I get on this concept of a life purpose, and how did I really start to formulate my plan? Well, I came across a quote called The Essence of Destiny. And as I started to unpack what a life purpose was, so I used this quote as the backbone for building Module 1, Living a Purposeful Life. I used this quote as the backbone for building it. Now, I know some of you may have heard of it before, but humor me here as I recite it for the rest of us. It goes like this. Watch your thoughts, for they become words. Choose your words, for they become actions. Understand your actions, for they become habits. Study your habits, for they will become your character. And develop your character, for it will become your destiny. You see, it was this single quote from Lao Tzu that has been my guiding inspiration for life, and it formed the foundation for a system I use to help men create their life purposes. So imagine, if you will, a pyramid. And the pyramid sits on a base that I call our unconscious destiny. See, this is the place where we generally don't spend very much time in because it resides within us. See, most people live in a world that they can see, touch, taste, and smell. To truly live our life purpose, we need to move more from the unconscious destiny and make it conscious. Otherwise, we're like that ship without a rudder. So let's go to the base of this pyramid. And you guessed it, it's made up of our thoughts. We think somewhere between 60,000 thoughts a day. And about 80% of those thoughts are negative, and 95% of those are repetitive. Most, I would suggest, are unconscious. In other words, we're not even aware that we are having the same thoughts over and over and over again. That's pretty bloody scary when you think about it. See, there's another thought. But once we start to become aware of our thoughts, remember, the first stage is to watch our thoughts, then we can start to discern if the thought is valid to me at that moment. We do that by answering the where question. Where is this thought taking me? Where is this thought coming from? What will or can I do with this thought? And why is this thought important or even necessary? See, the key is to start observing your thoughts and asking questions. The next level, after we start to become aware of our thoughts, is to look at the words we are using. You see, our language holds the clues to what we think about ourselves and life. So again, We can choose our words to express how we feel about something. We can choose our words to express our values and beliefs around those things. Together, with our thoughts and our words, we reveal to everyone and ourselves our mindset. It is our mindset, if it's set on lack or unworthiness, fear, anger, and anxiety, how likely are we to live a purposeful life? Or said another way, what kind of life purpose is that? It's not very motivating, to say the least. In The Awakened Man, we spend a lot of time in these first two phases, as men learn to focus on their thoughts and words, because these lead directly to a life purpose that is either empowering or disempowering. You get to choose. No one else does, because you're responsible for your life. Okay, let's take the next level of the pyramid. This is where the results of our thinking and our words reside. They are our actions and our habits. In this phase, our evolution is to begin to understand our actions so we can truly study our habits. Do you ever ask yourself why you did something after the fact? Especially when the outcome wasn't great? Crap, that happens to me even today, but not as often as it used to, so I'm very thankful for that. The crappy thing about all this is that it happens in a moment. For the most part, there's no luxury of time in between these stages. Shit just happens, and especially when we are unconscious, and then we hit the wall. See, our actions reveal to ourselves and to the world what our values and beliefs are about what is going on. It's also a place where our shadow manifests itself. This is another place where we spend a lot of time working with men as we get into our shadows, and I'll go deeper into that into another podcast. For today, think of the shadow as the parts of us that we just don't like about ourselves, or the parts of us that have a high emotional charge. Actions that are repeated enough times then become our habits. Do you have any habits that you like or dislike about yourself? Do you drink too much, smoke, not work out enough? Do you always clean up after yourself? Say thank you? Those are a couple of good habits. The key for me on my journey towards creating a purposeful life was noticing the habit I had of negative self-talk. Now, I truly mean nasty self-talk. There's nothing more devastating than a habit of speaking negatively about yourself. Making a shift in how you speak to yourself will be the single most important change you can make in your life. I guarantee it. It may not be something you do very often, but even doing it once in a while can be a motivation killer. The thing is that what you tell yourself that is negative is not true, at least not to the core of who you are as a human. Let that sink in for a little while. You see, at this point in developing our life purpose, we become consciously aware of our thoughts. We choose words that inspire and support ourselves, and our actions start to represent the inner dialogue we are having. Soon, with perseverance and repetition, we embody a new, empowering habits. Life is coming together for us. The last stage asks us to develop our character, for it will become our destiny. You see, character is that part of us that reveals itself when times are tough and when no one is watching. You see, it's easy to put up a front and pretend we are something that we are not. Bring on a challenge, life events, and our true character is revealed. Now, I do agree that once it is revealed, that significant life events do shape our character, but only to the extent that we allow it to. In other words, significant emotional events will either solidify your current character or force you to change it because it doesn't meet the vision or mission in your life. Together, this is the framework for creating a vision and mission statement for your life. When you create these two statements, everything from the bottom of the pyramid now has a purpose and a direction. It's the first module that men complete when joining the Awakened Man, and it's for obvious reasons. Without a solid life purpose, you can never lead a purposeful life. So what's the alternative? Well, let's look on the wisdom of Homer Simpson. Remember the episode where he drank a quart of mayonnaise and vodka? And then Marge says, "You better not do that." What was Homer's response? "That's a problem for future Homer. I'm sure glad I'm not that guy." Or Homer's other famous retort, "Beer. Now that's a temporary solution." Listen, don't get me wrong. I enjoy a beer just like the other guy. And I'm sure not advocating a life filled with purposeful steps each and every moment to the point of unhappiness creeps in. That's not what I'm advocating. What I am advocating for is that a mission in life is for us to be present, to live in the moment, because that is the essence that Lao Tzu was making in this quote. Live purposefully in the present. I don't know about you, but for me, living a purposeful life means knowing that I'm aware and conscious of my thoughts, that I spend time analyzing the words that I'm using, looking at the actions and the habits that I'm creating, and making sure that I'm refining the character to the man that I want to become, so that my wife and my children and my peers can be proud to be associated with me. I really enjoyed my time with you here today, and I hope you enjoyed it as well and learned a little bit about life purpose and what our first module is all about in the Awakened Man. I look forward to seeing you on our next encounter. Until then, stay present, my brothers.